Hi there. Today we'll cover the basics of SQL or SQL, starting with what it is and covering the 4 commands you need to know to use it effectively. Let's dive right in. SQL stands for Structured Query Language and is normally pronounced SQL. It is used to communicate with databases. It can look at what data is stored, find specific combinations, and add and remove data. If you've used Excel or Google Sheets, you are already familiar with the general structure of a database because every database can be represented as a series of spreadsheets. Each sheet is called a table, and each table has labeled columns. Today, we'll use Azure Data Studio, which is similar to Visual Studio Code. There are various types of SQL, such as Oracle and Postgres, but the basics are the same, particularly these 4 commands. Certain programs and SQL types require semicolons at the end of SQL statements, but as Azure Data Studio doesn't, we're going to be skipping them for today. Just maybe keep in mind that they could be required at some points. So for starters, I've gone ahead and I've set up a tiny database and populated 2 tables with data. So the very first command you need to know is select star from table name. And in this case, our table's name is cats. So if we go in here, we can see we have these 4 cats showing up along with their IDs, their ages, whether or not they've been vaccinated, and the ID of their owner. So this column is special because it connects to our other table, which is called humans, and it is the ID of this table. So if ever, this is called a foreign key. So if ever we have a column that is a foreign key, we need to make sure that that data is on both tables. And we'll see a few more examples of that as we go along. So we can also just say a particular column name, maybe a name and age. And just get a limited number of rows, which can be very useful as you get larger and larger data sets. And you can also say, okay, I don't want everything. I want only to see the cats where age is equal to 3. And if we go ahead and do that, we can just get those 2 rows. A more useful where clause that we might say is owner ID. So let's say owner ID is 1. So all of the cats owned by that owner. And just for reference, I am highlighting the statement to click run because that way it runs only the statement that I have highlighted. It's kind of a useful trick. Makes it so you can keep your work. But let's say we don't actually know the owner ID. We only know the owner name. What we can do here is we can make a nested select statement where we say select ID from humans, where if you spell words correctly, the computer knows what you're talking about much better. And let's say where name equals George. And this will not really look like it's run because it'll show the exact same data. Yeah. So there you go. And then the next thing you might want to do is, let's say, well, it looks like Loki and Thor are not vaccinated. Let's go ahead and get those two, get their shots. I started typing without thinking. So here's our second command, and that is the update command. So let's say we want to update the cats table, and we want to set is vaccinated equal to 1, which represents true. And let's say where, let's say age is equal to 0, because we can see Loki's age is 0. We want to set him to is vaccinated. So let's go ahead and run that. It says 2 rows affected. And wait a minute, we only wanted to update Loki. but we've updated Thor as well. And the reason that we did that is because we selected age equals 0, and as you can see, 0 is the age for both of those two cats. So if we wanted to do that better, we would want to say set age equal to 1, where name is equal to Loki, or even better, where ID is equal to 2. Either of those two queries will work identically. But when you use the ID, then you know for absolutely certain exactly which rows you are affecting. We don't always get the luxury of knowing the actual rows we're affecting. Sometimes we want to say, okay, birthdays happened everywhere where the age equals 0, set the age to 1 now. But most likely that's not how we would want to do things. Okay, and similarly, we can nest a select. So we could say, let's go ahead and select set is vaccinated to 0, where owner ID is all of this. So exactly the same nested select as above. And if we go ahead and run that, and then select star from cats, we can see that now all of these cats are marked as not vaccinated. So that's update. It is very useful for us for updating a particular number of rows. Now, you can actually run an update statement that is just like this. The problem is that what that will do is it will update every single row. And you probably don't want to do that for the most part. There might be circumstances where it makes sense, but most likely you're not going to want to. Okay, so that brings us directly to our fourth command, which is insert. So if we say insert into table name, in this case, let's say cats, and then we want to insert a particular set of values. Let's see, we have our table in front of us. Let's say for 5, we want to add a cat named Alice, who is 5, who has been vaccinated, and the owner ID, let's just set that to 3. So now, the insert statement conflicted with the foreign key constraint, because this foreign key of 3 is not in the humans table. So we have to run an insert into humans values 3. Let's say his name is Bob, and he lives at 564 Cherry Lane, and his phone number is 987-555-3211. Go ahead and run that. Now we can run this, and no more error. Go and look in the cats table. Now we see Alice. Look in the humans table. Now we see Bob. So now if we want, though, let's go ahead and add a fourth owner here called Mary. And Mary just happens to live at 568 Cherry Lane, and phone number is 3223. Very, very similar. So one row affected. Now let's say that Mary has a whole bunch of cats. Let's say she has 3. 3 might not be a very large number, but it definitely feels like a whole bunch of cats. Let's say that Mary's cats are named Prince, and Prince is 2, has been vaccinated, and we want that owner ID to be 4. And then Mary also has a cat named Princess, and one named Sprinkles. We have to keep updating this number. There is a way to make SQL do that for you. I have not set it up with this database, but that is a slightly more advanced feature. Let's say Prince and Princess are both 2. Sprinkles is 8. All of them have been vaccinated. And if we run that, it should say 3 rows affected. There we go. Select star from cats. There we go. Now, the fourth command, I mentioned that update is dangerous because you could update a lot more rows than you mean to. Delete is exactly the same. In fact, I would argue that delete is even more dangerous because if you do delete from cats, that will wipe out all of the cats in the table, and I will demonstrate that after showing it work more normally. So let's say we want to delete from humans where, let me pull up my humans table data again. And let's say Veronica has decided to go find a different vet or whatever. So we want to delete from humans where name equal to Veronica. And here again, reference constraint, this is that foreign key thing. Once more, the table cats has a record that references the foreign key associated with this record. Each row is called a record. So if we delete from cats, where owner ID equals select ID from humans, I'm going to copy and paste this where clause. We have to do that one. That one worked fine, and now this one will work fine. And then if we select star from humans, now we have only the 3. And if we select star from cats, now we have only the 7. So, like I said, pretty similar to update, dangerous in similar ways. And let's see, if we just do delete from cats, if we forget our where clause, or say we accidentally highlight only this part instead of the entire query, how that is going to look is it's going to say 7 rows affected, and then when we do our select star, there's just nothing there. So, obviously, pretty bad. We don't want to do that. So, if you found this valuable, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like this, go ahead and subscribe. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments and I'll get to them ASAP. Thank you.